October 13th was a weird day. I kept feeling tears welling up behind my eyes, but despite almost craving the release, I couldn't cry. It was the day the final 20 living hostages were released from Gaza. And that's when it hit me, that I had been off for the past 2 years. Initially, I thought I had compartmentalized it well. I had accepted that I couldn't join the October 7th counterattacks because I was out of the country, and I begrudgingly accepted being aged out of reserve duty for the entire operation. And it also resisted the guilt status signaling games that were very common back home. But standing there, unable to cry, I kind of realized how much the situation had been quietly draining me all along. I had also finished writing my book during this period, a book about my experience in Israeli special operations, and I released it during the biggest wave of anti-Semitism I've experienced in my lifetime. It was, to put it mildly, a very interesting experience. Now, overall, I believe I took the right actions and did mostly the right things. But after a 3-week break to end the year and really digest everything, I see valuable lessons I can use to improve my performance and my character. This debrief covers 3 main categories: 6 lessons I learned, 3 ways I'll implement those lessons in 2026, and 2 mindset issues I still struggle with. I also share a little bit of my biggest wins at the bottom. So before I start, I want to say thank you to everyone who was a part of this year. Now, before we start though, a cautionary note about what I'm about to talk about. My clients and most people didn't know any of this was happening beneath the surface. And there's a popular narrative right now that vulnerability is inherently brave, inherently good, that sharing your struggles openly makes you authentic and relatable. As a realist, I think it's naive, and in most spaces, it's simply ineffective and even harmful. The reality is that in professional settings, broadcasting your struggles in real time usually just makes you look weak and not up for the job. It's an uncomfortable truth, but it is what it is. People lose confidence in you, and it's not cynicism, it's just how it works. Harsh, but true. Now, during this period, I had a very small circle I was completely open with. Close friends, my wife, and a mentor. They got the unfiltered version. Everyone else got someone who showed up strong and fully focused on them. Now, some may think that's being fake. I think it's being strategic. So I'm sharing this now because it's behind me and because it might be useful to you. Not as a real-time confession, but as processed lessons from the other side. That's what I believe effective vulnerability looks like. Selective, intentional, and shared from a position of strength rather than need. So let's get started. 6 lessons learned. Emotions that don't drive effective action are pointless. Our emotions carry primal wisdom. They often signal when to take action and guide us on what to do. But sometimes an emotion gets trapped inside you because you have no way to exercise it. For me, these past 2 years, that emotion was guilt. Guilt could have been useful if it had driven me to help people I care about. But taking action in the way I was trained was no longer an option. So instead of serving a purpose, the emotion just kept bouncing around inside me, needlessly draining my energy. I saw the extreme version of this in people back home. They were so beside themselves after October 7th, not knowing what to do, that they took up erratic behaviors that clearly didn't actually serve them or anyone else. As my mother put it, everybody's just looking to do something with themselves, to feel like they're doing something. And while I was rational enough to avoid that extreme, I still felt the fatigue that harboring unexercised emotions can cause. So I took 2 surf trips this year, but worked during both of them. Looking back, I didn't do this because it's logically what the business needed. I did it because I didn't feel comfortable fully taking time off while people were on the front lines or held hostages in tunnels. And not that me doing that actually helped anyone. During my end-of-year break, I read The Splendid and the Vile about Winston Churchill's leadership during the first year of World War II. And what struck me most was the dichotomy. On one side, he had the crushing burden of leading the free world while London was being bombed on a nightly basis. And on the other hand, he had a habit of taking almost every weekend off at his country estate to freshen up and do that while drinking, having fine cigars, and eating great food. Now, when I look at it, those strategic retreats are probably what enabled him to stay at his best and serve people at his best. He had the power where he didn't let guilt pull him into ineffective patterns and needlessly exhaust him. An admirable ability, especially during those times. Now, moving forward, I accept that life will throw more challenges in the future my way. My parents will pass, things may happen to my wife or son, and other difficulties will come. The lesson I'm taking forward is that guilt isn't a badge of honor, and unexercised emotions simply aren't helpful. If they lead to action, great. If not, I need the emotional maturity to let them go and put them aside. They don't serve me, and they don't serve anyone else. 2. Even the slightest integrity creep can have massive consequences. The problem isn't keeping someone in your life who shouldn't be there and having to deal with them. The real problem is that you're making a choice, perhaps unknowingly, to live out of integrity. And that will slowly but surely derail your sense of self. This year, an old friend and I cut ties. The unfortunate part is that it should have happened several years ago, when I first noticed we were no longer a fit. Instead, certain life circumstances caused me to wait until the relationship came to a bit of an unpleasant end. Fortunately, in the post-mortem, we were able to wish each other well, but it was unnecessary for that and for what was once a very positive relationship to end on a sour note. And for the past 2 years, I had to carry a feeling of being out of integrity, of having someone in my life who didn't align with my values, while deep down knowing I'm not being clear about my own boundaries. Now, we like to tell ourselves that we're good at compartmentalizing, that we can keep someone misaligned with our values in a neat little box that won't affect the rest of our lives. But the reality is that it doesn't work that way. When I'm not being true to myself, a 30-minute interaction drains far more than 30 minutes of energy. There's a ripple effect. And yes, it is harder to hold the line on integrity when you're already facing challenges on multiple fronts. But that's exactly when it matters most. Small compromises left unaddressed become really big energy drains. So the lesson I'm taking forward is this. Being true to myself is most crucial during challenging times. The real world sometimes requires trade-offs. I recognize that. But I need to also recognize how deep those trade-offs can cut, even when they seem small. 3. Life without physical passion is dull. So, not being in love anymore is awkward. I still like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I can't say I'm in love with it anymore. And after more than a decade of having a physical practice I loved, simply running, working out, and doing calisthenics and swimming, it kind of felt dull. I miss something physically immersive and intellectually stimulating with a light social component. And this past year and a half, as you might have noticed from my emails, I dove into surfing. Having something that completely detaches you from the day-to-day and gives you a genuine thrill has been amazing for me. It's a physical passion I actually love, and even better, it's something I get to share with my wife. Now, oddly, swimming in the ocean, especially when it's wild and stormy, has always calmed me. There's just something about being in that chaotic and immersive environment that requires a focus that quiets everything else. And now being able to experience the ocean in a different way with the speed of a surfboard has been a fun new experience. I'm very excited to also be passing on to my son. Now, surfing wise, I'm no longer a kook and I'm probably just a blue belt at surfing, but I'm loving it. I'm still very far from my goal of getting barreled at Taipahu, but we're making progress. So the lesson I'm taking forward is to prioritize physical passion. Life without it is simply dull. 4. The price of exceptional results is always higher than you expect, and it's paid in ways you don't see. So I first thought about writing the book Elite Performance about 5.5 years ago when I just started my business. But I quickly realized I wasn't ready. As Naval said, to write a great book, you have to become the book. Now, after I'd done all the work with clients and gotten all the results, I still knew that exceptional work would cost money and require help from others. What I didn't realize was how else I'd have to pay. So yes, I paid in money, over $60,000, learning I'd hired the wrong people for various roles because I didn't understand the field and I didn't know the right questions to ask. But I also paid in ego, watching my year-over-year growth flatline while I poured myself into something that didn't immediately show financial returns. And I also paid in discomfort of being seen as difficult because I refused to accept work that fell below my standards or what I wanted this project to be. The real cost of exceptional isn't just time and money. It's the ignorance that you pay through false starts. It's feeling stupid It's sacrificing good things to make room for great ones, and it's holding the line on standards even when people think you're an asshole for it. So the lesson I'm taking forward is that whenever I start something new and I want it to be exceptional, I need to preemptively accept the financial cost, the ego cost of mistakes and of setbacks, and the toll of holding standards and people's resistance to that. That these are just the cost that excellence requires. 5. Identity can be a trap when you need mobility. If you can't be that special ops guy anymore and fight, what's your new identity? So we were sitting in a circle on a small island off the coast of Spain. A dozen successful entrepreneurs at a mastermind, sun on our faces, the Mediterranean stretched out behind us. And there I was, stumped by a powerful question that I hadn't seen coming. I just shared my challenge of not being able to join the fight back home, and the question hung in the air. After a long pause, I surprised myself with my own answer. I think the real thing I need to do is not have an identity, to be more fluid. You see, identity can be powerful, but it can also hurt you. In turbulent times, it can root you in who you are and keep you on course. But sometimes, when all options aren't available, you need mobility instead of roots. And stability and mobility are often mutually exclusive. In short, being fixed on who you are and what you do, even if it seems positive and virtuous, can be ineffective and frustrating as times change. So the lesson I'm taking forward is that when I feel friction in life, instead of asking, who am I and what should I do, I'll ask, who can I be here? And who would it be effective for me to transform into? Lesson number 6, family over more financial growth. It's unfortunate when someone worth tens or hundreds of millions loses their family, goes through divorce, and becomes disconnected from their kids because they chased more money and success way past the point of marginal returns. Now, I never experienced anything close to that. I'm still not worth tens or hundreds of millions, but I did take on a massive paid speaking tour at the end of this year to help promote the book. It was 21 days, 13 cities, good money, and a compelling justification that this will help the book launch really strong. By various external measures, it was a success. I met phenomenal people, I received messages about the genuine impact I made on entrepreneurs, and got great feedback scores from all the talks and workshops I did. But by day 8, I cared more about the time with my wife and my son than adding dollars to the bank account, signing more books, shaking more hands, or having lunch with more billionaires. When I came home and I put my hand on the top of my 5-year-old's head when we were at the airport, he was noticeably taller, and it was a feeling that I didn't enjoy, like I just missed out a part of his life. And I felt like I made the wrong trade. Now, there will always be time to make more money, but my son's childhood is fleeting. So the lesson I'm taking forward is that I love growth, and I will keep pursuing it, but I need better guardrails. I need more time in Israel with my parents and extended family, and no more than a week apart from my wife and son for work trips. Now, 3 ways I'm going to actually implement these lessons in 2026. 1, hiring more. So I can't claim I value my time with my family more than money if I'm unwilling to hire people to free up my time. This year, I want to hire and lead people. Not manage them, but lead them to become the best version of themselves so that we can all create something much bigger together. I feel like often this is an issue of the shoemaker walking barefoot, where I help lead my clients and even teach them how to lead their teams, and they get these amazing results, and I don't have as good of a team or as big of a team as I should have. And this is something that I definitely want to change, and I'm excited to change and create a massive team of really successful people that does big stuff in the world. 2, family surf trips. So this is simple, but I want to have at least 2 proper family surf trips this year. Fully off, no calls. And 3, no unexercised emotions. The guilt I'd been carrying nearly all melted away the day the remaining living hostages came home on October. But I want to stay mindful of this lesson as the cost was heavy. When I feel an emotion, either act on it or let it go completely. Feeling it without doing something about it is the worst of both worlds. Now, 2 mindset issues I still struggle with. The first is control. So I still crave too much control and clarity. Maybe it's personality, maybe it's because in special operations, a lack of control could mean life or death. But regardless, it doesn't matter why. If I want the life I want, I have to let go of more control and move with less clarity. And also on a deeper level, I want to provide a better example for my son to live by. 2, perfectionism. Perfectionism is control's cousin. I used to tell myself it was about high standards. The truth is, I don't always trust that the 80-20 will be good enough for me to succeed. A part of it comes from starting entrepreneurship late in life, and a part of it is simply the natural insecurity that all human beings feel. Now, I am getting better at going for good enough instead of perfect, partly through frameworks like the minimum effective dose, but mostly because I'm tired of paying the unnecessary price. This year, I'm excited to push myself on this front with our YouTube channel, to build a team and create a level of output that focuses on macro results, not micro perfection. Now, this is funny because those closest to me don't agree with this being an issue of mine, but I feel like there's still more I can grow here and let go of and move to the next level. And finally, I want to share a couple wins worth celebrating. So this year, I foolishly avoided celebrating wins throughout the year, but I am proud of them. And I greatly appreciate everyone that's a part of the podcast and the newsletter and all the clients. So this is something I want to share with you guys. First thing, after years in the making, we finally launched Elite Performance, the book. And the reviews have been genuinely amazing. And I'm so proud of the product that we put out. It's a system that actually gets results, and it's a book that's easy for people to read and implement. And I genuinely feel like it was worth all the effort. Second, I secured some very high-end speaking engagements and multiple regional tours with 9.5 and above NPS scores. Now, the fun part here is that 5 years ago, I was giving free talks in coffee shops to digital nomads. And today, I'm being flown out to run paid workshops for rooms where the entry point is being a millionaire, and there are many billionaires in there as well. And that progress in just 5 short years is something that I'm genuinely proud of. I also got to get much better at surfing and push my son onto his first wave recently. I've helped clients achieve their biggest results yet, from closing acquisitions to growing by hundreds of millions of dollars and multiple exits. I also earned the ability to say no to lucrative 5-figure opportunities because they simply didn't align with my vision, not for my business or for my life. And on top of that, on a personal level, my relationship with my wife has been the strongest it's ever been. And my son knows that his mother and I love him unconditionally, and at the same time, that a great life requires accepting fear and discomfort rather than running away from them. Basically, I'm closing out this year feeling more calm and clear than I have in years, with nothing in my life that isn't aligned with where I want to go. And having the time and energy to take my son to weekly ice cream, bouncy castles, and sunset beach sessions and be fully present with him is something I'm greatly appreciative for. So, for final thoughts, there's a concept called the 100-year storm. Something so destructive, we don't think it's possible because we haven't experienced it in our lifetime. But these storms exist. The situation with the hostages showed me how much room for growth I still have. My mental ballast honestly simply wasn't where it needed to be when the old playbook was no longer an option. But that's the beauty of mindset work. It's an infinite game. There's always another level. And I'm grateful for the people, friends, mentors, and clients I had around me during this time. An uncomfortable reality is that you don't build your support system during a crisis. You earn it in the years before. And I'm glad I did that work. But more importantly, here's how I hope my reflections might be able to help you. Extremes create clarity. That's their hidden gift. And you're probably not wrestling with guilt about a war, but maybe you are carrying something else you haven't dealt with. Frustration, anxiety, shame, or ambition you've been sitting on too long. Here's the thing. Feeling an emotion without acting on it is the worst of both worlds. It just eats at you. So act on it or let it go. But don't stay in the middle. Dare to move because a better reality is waiting for you on the other side. I'm wishing you guys a great 2026. And as an aside, if you have read the book, Elite Performance, and would be open to leaving an honest review, it really would mean a lot to me. We're going to share a link in the show notes here on how you can do that. And yes, the audiobook with some special bonuses is coming out very, very soon. So again, if I could ask you one thing, if you've been enjoying this, to leave an honest review, it really would mean a lot to me. Aside from that, I'm wishing everyone a great 2026.